In the grand tapestry of history, few threads are as vibrant, complex, and controversial as that of Winston Spencer Churchill, a man whose life spanned empires, wars, and radical societal shifts. His story is one of audacious ambition, crushing failure, and an iron will that would ultimately define the 20th century. This is not just a tale of a wartime leader. It's the journey of a man in constant evolution, from a restless, aristocratic youth to the bulldog who stared down tyranny. His childhood was marked by emotional distance from his parents. He was a rebellious and unremarkable student, finding solace not in academics, but in the rigid, structured world of the military. He enrolled at the Royal Military College at Sandhurst, a decision that would shape the first chapter of his adventurous life. It was here the young Churchill began to hone his appetite for risk and his desire for glory. Upon graduating, Churchill sought action wherever he could find it. As a cavalry officer and war correspondent, he charged into conflicts in Cuba, India, and the Sudan. These experiences were not just about bravado, they were his university. He learned the brutal realities of combat, the mechanics of power, and the art of storytelling, dispatching vivid reports back to a captivated British public. His daring escape from a prisoner of war camp during the Second Boer War in South Africa catapulted him to national fame. He returned to England not just as a soldier, but as a hero, leveraging his newfound celebrity to launch the political career he had always craved. Entering Parliament in 1900 as a Conservative, Churchill was a political firebrand from the start. Impatient and ambitious, he soon crossed the floor to join the rival Liberal Party, believing it offered a faster route to power. His early career was a whirlwind of ministerial posts. As president of the Board of Trade, he championed social reforms, establishing minimum wages and labor exchanges. Then, as First Lord of the Admiralty, he began the monumental task of modernizing the Royal Navy, preparing it for the looming conflict he saw on the horizon. His foresight was remarkable, but his tenure was also marked by a catastrophic decision. The First World War brought Churchill's career to a screeching halt. His championing of the disastrous Gallipoli campaign in 1915, an attempt to knock the Ottoman Empire out of the war, resulted in immense casualties and a humiliating defeat. He was demoted, scapegoated, and forced to resign from the Admiralty. To redeem his honor, he took the extraordinary step of rejoining the army and serving on the Western Front as a battalion commander. He returned to politics a more sober, though no less determined, figure. The 1920s and 30s were Churchill's wilderness years. Out of favor and out of office for much of the period, his political voice was largely ignored. He watched with growing alarm the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party in Germany re-arm to stand firm against the growing threat. He was dismissed as a warmonger, a relic of a bygone era. History, however, would soon prove him tragically correct. September 1939. Germany invades Poland, and Britain declares war. Churchill, the outcast, is brought back into government as First Lord of the Admiralty, the very post he had lost in disgrace a generation earlier. As the situation in Europe grew darker, and Britain's leadership faltered, all eyes turned to the one man who had consistently warned of this day. In May 1940, as France was collapsing, Winston Churchill became Prime Minister. His moment had arrived. He told the nation he had nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. Through the dark days of the Blitz, The Battle of Britain and the long, grinding years of global conflict, his defiant speeches broadcast over the radio, became the lifeblood of a nation under siege. He forged a grand alliance with the United States and the Soviet Union, steering the Allied war effort with a combination of strategic genius, stubborn resolve, and sheer force of personality. He wasn't just a politician. He was the personification of Britain's will to survive. We shall never surrender. Victory in 1945 brought not celebration for Churchill, but a stunning political defeat. The war-weary British public, eager for social change, voted his Conservative Party out of office. Once again, he was on the outside looking in. He spent these years writing his monumental history, the Second World War, which would earn him the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1953, not for peace, but for his mastery of historical and biographical description, as well as for brilliant oratory. He also delivered his famous Iron Curtain speech in Fulton, Missouri, defining the new geopolitical reality of the Cold War. He would return as Prime Minister one last time from 1951 to 1955, an elder statesman presiding over a changing world. But his health was failing. The energy and drive that had defined him for decades were beginning to wane. He finally retired from politics, spending his final years painting, writing, and reflecting on a life of incredible tumult and consequence. When he died in 1965 at the age of 90, he was granted a state funeral, an honor typically reserved for monarchs. The world mourned the passing of a giant. He was an imperialist in a decolonizing world, a man of profound flaws and strategic blunders. Yet, at a moment of supreme crisis, his courage, his words, and his unwavering belief in freedom became a beacon for the entire world. He was the right man at the right time, who proved that one person's conviction can indeed change the course of history. If this story of a complex and indomitable leader moved you, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. More forgotten heroes and pivotal figures are waiting to be remembered.